All right, you're back listening to Sports Talk with Puckett and Pontzer. Must-see TV tonight as Game 7 of the NBA Finals kicks off. Game 6 was as dramatic as they get, with the Heat staging a comeback and the Spurs doing a little bit of a choke job that you only normally see from the Heat lately. LeBron scores, I think it was 20 points in the fourth quarter in overtime, which is uncommon for him. And, the Heat end up getting it done in overtime thanks to Ray Allen and Chris Bosh. So, who saw that coming, with Wade and LeBron kind of taking a back seat, especially in the final minutes as, Ray Allen hits a corner three that was just cold-blooded to send it to overtime. And then Tim Duncan doesn't score in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And
after scoring 30 in the first three quarters,
right.
He didn't score in fourth quarter overtime. That's the Spurs' biggest star, and Tim Duncan did not step up. And the Heat, LeBron stepped up at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Then you had Chris Bosh put down some key rebounds, and you had a former member of a different incarnation of a big three in Boston, and Ray Allen step up and make a very big play. It doesn't get any bigger than tying the game with 5 seconds left. This is going to be exciting tonight. Like I said, it comes down to the stars, I think, especially in basketball. You look at LeBron in Game 7s in his career, he's 2-2, and he averages 33.8 points in those Game 7s and 8.3 rebounds, which is incredible. Then you have Tim Duncan, who's 2-1 in Game 7s, 27.3 points per game, 13.3 rebounds. So he averages a double-double in Game 7s, and I think it's remarkable that Tim Duncan has been playing as long as he has, and he's only played in 3 Game 7s. LeBron James has played in more Game 7s than Tim Duncan has, and that speaks to their ability to close it out. I saw a stat on the ticker on ESPN on this after Game 6, and it said that when Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker together, the Spurs' big three, they have had 17 times in their career that they have had a chance where they have a chance to knock out the other team, like an elimination game. And they've only lost that game 3 times. Last night was the third time, or I'm sorry, Game 6 was the third time, where they have the chance to knock out that other team. And that's incredible, And unlike LeBron, now he had to force this Game 7, and, he did that. It was very entertaining. There was, you can talk about the refs all you want. I think they kind of put away their whistles and let buckets decide the game. But
especially on that Ginobili attempt.
Ginobili himself, on that play, Ginobili, got the first down. He took like 6 steps. So, you can.
Well, you want to talk about traveling? You just
right.
watch the Heat.
Exactly.
Listen. The reason this is a must-see TV is because everybody has a rooting interest. You either like the Heat and you're going to root for them to win, or you cannot stand the Heat, like the members in this room, and you just want to see LeBron cry on the bench.
LeBron is one of the most, if not the most, polarizing figures in all of sports, and really in all of pop culture. It really is. He's a guy that you compare him to someone else who's really polarizing is like a Tim Tebow, but Tim Tebow doesn't produce like LeBron. Yes, he has his overtime win, but he hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything. LeBron is a guy, he already has his 1 ring, but not only that, unlike Tebow doesn't say, we're going to win 5 championships with the Jets. LeBron does is not 1, not 2, not 3. Everybody mocks that. Everybody, or people point to that. Everybody talks about his decision.
LeBron is one of, oh my gosh, I cannot stand, I literally get my words twisted when I talk about him because I cannot stand it.
I know. I was at your place of residence on Game 6. We were watching the game with your little brother and his friend, and there was quite a swing of emotions in that game. And I saw you were getting so fired up. You were hitting the couch, throwing things, mad, saying things under your breath, and it was a very entertaining game. You had comebacks on both sides, a couple times, really, by both teams. And, LeBron, of course, they make a huge deal about it, though. He loses his headband, and now he's starting to hit shots. And, he throws up a brick for a 3, but who gets the rebound? Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh gives it back to LeBron, or gives it to Mike Miller, who gives it to LeBron, and LeBron hits a 3. And LeBron misses the 3, but Chris Bosh gets the rebound, and Ray Allen hits the 3. In between that, Tony Parker scores 5 or 6 straight points to put the Spurs on top. And before that, the Heat were down 12 to start the fourth quarter, and they were able to come back and eventually win in overtime. Great game. Something that, if I had anything to say about tonight's game, because honestly, I mean, I'd like to see LeBron lose because then, there's certain people, we have friends that we like to argue with, and it'll be easier to argue against a guy like LeBron James if he does not have a championship on his resume. But, another one. But it doesn't get any bigger than a Game 7, and at the end they're going to give out the big trophy. It doesn't get any bigger than this. And I hope LeBron ultimately comes out on the short end of the stick here, but I just hope for a good game, because really Game 1 and Game 6 have been the only games in the series that have been even remotely nice to watch. I mean, Game 6 obviously was. Game 1...
The rest were blowouts.
Not even blowouts, but like 20, 30-point blowouts in a championship series, which is just crazy to me. But, it doesn't get any bigger than this Game 7. I know 2 weeks ago, when we had our last show, I predicted that the Heat would win in 5. I thought they were going to be too much for the Spurs. Even though the Spurs had the rest and all that, I thought the Heat were just going to come out and just clown them. And I thought the Spurs would win one game at home. You had picked the Spurs in 6, so you're close if they were able to win tonight. And they had that chance. Your prediction would have been right if Kawhi Leonard hits his.
I mean, the Spurs had a 94-89 lead with 22 seconds left, so 6 points.
Yep.
LeBron shoots, misses. Mike Miller gets the offensive rebound, then kicks it back to LeBron, and he makes a 3. Okay, so now it's 94-92. Spurs take a timeout. Then they foul Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
He goes to the free throw line,
1 of 2.
makes 1 of 2. So now it's still a 3-point game. This is when LeBron comes down the floor, jacks up a 3, brick, Chris Bosh rebound, to Ray Allen in the corner, step back, drains it.
And because Chris Bosh was huge in that whole series, because not only, Mike Miller did end up getting that rebound, but it was the thing where Chris Bosh jumped up and hit it back to his teammate. He was really the guy who made the play. Mike Miller just happened to be in the right place. And Chris Bosh had 2 blocks on 3-point attempts in overtime. I mean, you talk about the big 3, obviously LeBron's the superstar, but Dwayne Wade was really nowhere to be found. And then, but Chris Bosh made the plays that he needed to at the end, both on a defensive, offensive boards, and then defensively with 2 big blocks on 3-point attempts. So it was a great game. And so my question for you is, tonight, it's going to happen, we're recording right now, it's almost 8 o'clock right now, so it's going to happen just over an hour or so. We, of course, will be watching, big sports fans. What is your prediction for tonight?
Well, I mean, I think that the Spurs are going to they're in a tough spot because of, they had a 5-point lead with 22 seconds left.
6.
And
6 points.
6-point lead with 22 seconds left. They choke it away.
Mm-hmm.
Can't make the final play.
Right. We were watching the game with your little brother, and he asked me, or both of us, I guess, he said, why do they do that? They foul. And I said, well, it's because maybe, and that's exactly what happened. They're able to come back.
So, I mean, but the thing that the Spurs have is experience.
Yes.
And they've been there before, maybe not as many times as LeBron, but I don't like LeBron. And
really?
I don't think that he is clutch. I just don't think he is.
Because let me, in the Pacers series, that also went 7 games, the Eastern Conference Finals. In that game, in Game 7, LeBron had 33 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. I mean, that's a great game. Scored all around, nearly a double-double. But you don't think you're going to see that same thing from him tonight?
No. If anything, if the Heat win, it will be because they're going to hit some threes. That's the reason they're going to win. If they win, it's going to be either like Mike Miller, Mario Chalmers, maybe Norris Cole.
Because you could say the same thing about even Shane Battier is the other. You could say the same thing though about the Spurs. They in this series, you had Gary Neal hitting all those threes. You had Leonard hitting threes, Parker hitting threes.
But
I can't think of the other guy who hit.
But I'm saying if the Heat win, that's going to be why. If the Spurs win, it's going to be because Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili finally play like the big 3 that they were in 2005, 2007, when they've been there before. So I think there's more of a chance that happens. Give me the Spurs.
And do we get a score?
Oh, man. Give me 93-90.
93, so a close game.
Yeah.
And no overtime. Just
straight up. Overtime Game 7 NBA? That'd be ridiculous.
that'd be something else.
I don't think that would happen. But
that would be fun. Personally, I think you're also the Spurs are in a tough spot. But you look at this series, and it has been a case of every other. Spurs win, Heat win. Spurs win, Heat win. There's been coaching adjustments made, lineup changes made. The team that lost the previous game has been able to respond. However, you're absolutely right. I think the Spurs were so close. They almost got, they took out Tim Duncan because he wanted. I don't know why really. I guess he wanted. That obviously he didn't want size. He wanted a guy.
Well,
who could
I mean, Tim Duncan wasn't exactly playing well.
Right, exactly.
In the fourth quarter,
and you take out your star, and you put in a guy, and that's Chris Bosh was able to get that rebound. The Spurs, I think they had their chance there, and they absolutely blew it. It's tough for me because I picked the Heat in 5. I don't know. I think that LeBron is gonna play well tonight, but I think that LeBron's gonna have a game where he's gonna have like 22 points, and I think he's gonna have like 11, 12 rebounds. So he's gonna have that double-double, and his fans are gonna be able to put that on. But I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and I think LeBron is going to try and do too much because he's going to be in that situation and want to prove himself. And I think that you're going to see this be in every other affair. And like you said, I think that Tony Parker and Tim Allen, Manu Ginobili are going to be able to make those plays this game. I think the Spurs are going to win this game. It's going to be in every other affair, like I said. And like I said, I think LeBron is going to have that double-double, and he's going to enter, unlike Game 6, where he really didn't do anything, I think he's going to have a good, solid first 3.5 quarters. But then at the end, it's going to be a close game. And I think he's going to try and do too much in the end. I think you're going to see him take bad shots, not get a call or two, and complain about it, and then, not get back on defense. So I think the Spurs are going to win by 7 points. I think it's going to be 104 to then 97. I think that's what 104-97. Spurs win their title. And I was going to say for you, my question is this is an interesting, it's almost like a crossroads, because I think if the Spurs win, this is kind of like the last hoorah for their dynasty, their big three. I don't think Tim Duncan's going to necessarily retire, but you have guys like some of their role players that have played big in this series. They might go get big contracts with other teams because they played well, and deservingly so. The Heat, if they win tonight, which both of us don't think is going to happen, which seems to be a curse on this show, so the Heat are going to win by 20. If they win, that's going to be the second title in a row, their third straight finals trip. I think you're going to see the owner, the guy who owns the Carnival Cruise Lines, and Pat Riley keep that team together. But if they lose, I think Pat Riley that might be too willing to pull the trigger too early on that team and start splitting it up already, because fans are going to be like, oh, break them up, even though they won Game 7 against a great team.
One title in 3 years is an absolute failure. Two titles in 3 years is a failure.
One title in 3 years for any franchise is great. You're like, wow. But not when you put those expectations on yourself.
How about not one, not
That's
two,
exactly what and why do
listen,
I say that? Absolutely.
LeBron puts all the pressure on himself.
And that makes my point of why I think he's going to try and do too much at the end.
He creates way too much drama around himself. The only reason people hold him to the standard they do is because he creates it. He came up with the king. That wasn't SportsCenter. He did it in high school. He said, I'm the king. King James, blah, blah, blah. That's his freaking Twitter handle, okay? Then he says, not one, not two, not three. He puts all the pressure on himself, and it's going to crush him tonight. When it's Game 7, NBA Finals, there's no bigger stage than that. And I don't think that he's going to be able to do enough. And not to say that he's not going to show up, because he'll show up.
Like I said, I think he's going to show up at the beginning, unlike Game 6. But at the end, he's going to try and do too much.
Gosh, I can't stand him. If the Heat win, I will be so disappointed. So disappointed.
And you won't even be disappointed in the Spurs as much as you'll just be disappointed in the fact that LeBron won.
But that's America. That's what it's all about.
Right.
I mean,
there's going to be a lot of people tonight watching ABC, all across the bars and at their houses and restaurants, and we're going to have a little party ourselves. And the thing is people are going to be either like we have a friend who we're going to watch with tonight, and his brother, who are big LeBron fans. They live here. They're Pistons fans, but they're LeBron fans, and they're going to be cheering for LeBron. Tonight, we're going to be the biggest black and silver, fans.
Yeah, if you would have told me in 2005 I'd be a Spurs
right,
fan.
exactly. Robert Horry from the corner over Rashid. That's not exactly a,
Fond
bright memory for many Pistons fans. But, this puts a whole new spin on it when it's against LeBron. And that's why 2 years ago, I was cheering I was doing the airplane move like Jason Terry when he'd hit those threes for the Mavs. And last year, Thunder fans. It's very interesting to see how polarizing it is. But my question is if they lose, do you think that LeBron, goes elsewhere next year, or if one of those pieces,
I think they try and trade one.
Because I think if anything, I could see Bosh going somewhere else. Because Dwayne Wade is he is Mr. Miami. He's been there forever. They love him down there. But he gets hurt a lot. He hurt his knee in Game 6. He has his back problems. He has his ankle problems. He has wrist problems. Maybe they could amnesty one of these three, which would be huge. But I think that if they don't win tonight, I think one of those big three might be playing in a different uniform next season.
Yeah, I would love that because I
think personally, that'd be way too quick. I mean, you have a team that went to the finals 3 straight years.
No. You win one title in 3 years. Say they win next year, then that's 2 and 4. Is it a failure? Yes or no?
Is it a failure? I would think for any other franchise that would be fantastic.
No. It's not any other franchise. If I told you in 2010, right, when they came together, and I said they're going to win 2 of the next 4 years, what would you have said?
It goes to your point of LeBron putting all that pressure on there.
Right.
When you say not 1, not 2, not 3, you should be winning. You should be holding up the trophy.
They should win every year. Right. Every year. Every single year.
And they're fans. I remember we were out somewhere, and a guy told me, straight faced, that the Heat were going to win 10 straight titles. And I said, you're not just saying that. No, he firmly believed that with all his heart.
Which is ridiculous. But they should win every year. You should be 3 of 3, 4 of 4. It doesn't matter. So say you keep them together. Now you're 1 and 2 in finals. They go next year. They win. Now you're 2 and 4. Success or failure?
It'd be a failure on the
Okay. Now they win the next year. 3 and 5 back to back. Success or failure?
Well, I mean, you're getting better, but you still look at those 2 years as disappointments.
Well, 3 and 5 years though. Success or failure?
Ultimately, that's still probably a failure
exactly.
from LeBron's
standards. So what is the point if your little experiment is a failure after year 3 and it'd still be a failure after year 5? What's the point?
See, the point would be, for me, if I'm GM, you're still going to win those titles, and you're probably, especially if you were to get rid of LeBron or Bosh, you're going to have a better chance of winning those titles in the future than you would without them. No question. And
really?
Yeah, if you get rid of LeBron, and you just went through this hypothetical.
I'm not saying you get rid of LeBron,
right, you just went through
if you get rid of Chris Bosh?
I think that he plays a bigger role than people give him credit for.
Say you get rid of Chris Bosh, you bring in Hibbert.
I mean, we're dealing with all hypotheticals, and that's I want to kind of change it to a different question because now.
Well, I think we should switch to the Stanley Cup.
And we're going to get there in just a second, but we're talking about your favorite guy here in LeBron. If LeBron wins or loses tonight, he will be a career 1 for 3 in the finals.
1 and 3, not 1 for 3.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. That's
1 and 3.
Because and I always forget about that one. He lost to the Spurs, as you remember, the Cavs.
He got swept, right? Okay.
What do you think that does for his legacy as a guy? Because I struggle, and I aspire to be a sports writer, and I read a lot of people, and people always want to label people, in the midst of their career. And I struggle with it. Once a guy retires, yes, you can look back on it. But LeBron is right now in the prime of his career. And I think you can definitely make the argument that he's the best player in terms of talent and skill. But you ultimately have to produce. This is the same with, my guy in Crosby. Great skill, but you have to be able to win. Okay. And when you don't score in the finals, that hurts your legacy.
This is what it's all about. Right now, LeBron is the best small forward to ever play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to change. He's the best right now. If his career ended tomorrow or tonight, he is the best small forward to ever play NBA basketball.
That's a good point.
He's already there. He's there.
That's a good point, yeah.
If he loses tonight, well, in my opinion, he's already lost his ability to be Jordan. He's done.
already.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
even though LeBron
Jordan never lost the finals.
I understand that, but even though LeBron has, I mean, what is he? He's 28, so he has a solid at least 3-4 years of maybe in his prime still, at least 3 or 4 that he still has ahead of him. Now, I mean, and he could play till he's 35. 30, I mean, that's what Michael did. Michael quit and came back, but you still already.
Yep, he can't be Jordan. He can't. He's already lost 2 finals. No, you're not Jordan.
But
if he wins tonight,
he
maintains his ability to beat Kobe, to beat Larry Bird, to beat Russell, to ascend to that level of second best of all time. He keeps that ability. If he loses tonight, he loses that ability. I don't think he can be number 2. I think because Kobe has 5 rings.
Yeah.
So when are you gonna win all years?
If
you end tonight with 1, and you say he has 3 years of prime left.
Yeah,
Kobe won his at the top of his game. There is no Tracy McGrady tag along. LeBron can't do that either.
Right, and you can't make their Yes, Kobe won his with Shaq, and then he won his with Pau Gasol.
Right,
but LeBron has won his with Chris Bosh and Wade.
And Kobe was one of the top 2. I'm not saying LeBron can't be Ray Allen, jump on a good team, and win another one, and everybody be like, "Woo!" That doesn't work for him. So in order for him to be number 2, he would have to win 4 straight after this year. I don't see it.
That's a good point, especially as we're talking about. There's rumblings. People put the theory that he might go back to Cleveland, which I think would be crazy.
Right. But he's not going to win 4 straight.
My opinion is if he wins tonight, I think he still has a chance to be better than Michael Jordan at the end of his career. But right now I don't think he is. And I think he would still have to do a lot to be there. But I think if he loses tonight, that's a huge dent to that, and I think it might knock him off that because, like you said, Michael never lost a final. Now, granted, Michael didn't go to the finals till he was like 28. Now, when LeBron went, the first time he was a really young kid carrying that entire Cavaliers roster. So he lost.
But even throw that one out.
That's what I'm saying. Let me make my point. That's if he loses tonight. Right now, he is the best player in the game, and right now he has a great team. But if he loses in 2 and 3 years to a team with an aging Dallas kid and Jason Terry and a superstar in Dirk Nowitzki, who might be a little bit past his prime, and then he beats you can compare Kevin Durant to that team LeBron had with Cleveland, maybe a bit better, but you know what I mean. That second year, now this third one, if he loses tonight, I think that hurts that legacy because he only has 1 ring so far, and I think you can't argue that he's better than Michael. But if he wins, I think he still has a chance to be better. So I think tonight is a big moment for LeBron James, and I think it's the biggest moment for him because Tim Duncan could lose tonight, and Tim Duncan still arguably he's one of the top 2 or 3 power forwards, if not the best ever to play the game.
Right.
And the same with Ginobili, and those guys. But LeBron, his career, his legacy kind of hinges on tonight, and it's gonna be fun to see what happens.
And legacy is a huge thing in sports.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the best legacies you can leave in sports is getting your name on the Stanley Cup.
Well, yeah.
And that is what both the Bruins and the Blackhawks are trying to do. Yep. With the series tied 2-2, going into a
great series,
a 5th game. The game last night, Game 4, was phenomenal. 6-5 Blackhawks in overtime. It was just a scoring bonanza.
Yeah.
So my question for you, quickly.
Yes.
The Blackhawks beat the Red Wings.
Yeah.
The Bruins beat the Penguins.
Yes.
My team is the Red Wings. Your team is the Penguins.
Yes.
What is your opinion? Would you rather the team that knocked your team out win the cup or lose the cup?
See, I don't know. I've discussed this with other people. I don't really like that, especially if I was a Red Wings fan and Blackhawks are your rival, so I would cheer against them. Boston was a better team than Pittsburgh, and they outclassed them in every way. So that's when that happens, do you cheer for the team that beats you? It's tougher when you're like one step away. To be honest, I haven't really had a cheering interest at all in these finals. I've watched them and enjoyed great hockey.
But just in general, as a sports fan.
I guess I do kind of fall into that trap, though, where, the Steelers lost to so-and-so. Well, I guess I cheer for them. And does it make you feel better at the end that we lost to that team? It does, but I do kind of feel that that's a cop-out. And I have fallen victim to it before. Like, the Patriots beat the Steelers. Now they're holding the Vince Lombardi. So are we the second best? Maybe. But you know what I mean? Like, but I don't like that. That's what I'm saying. I don't like it.
I don't do that at all. If a team beats my team, I immediately root against them the rest of the way.
That's interesting.
Always. But going into, there's 3 games left, 2-2. It's a 3-game series. I have picked Boston from before the playoffs even started. So I'm taking Boston because there's no reason to change it now.
Yep.
But Chicago has 2 of the 3 games at home.
Yes.
So what's your pick?
Boston has been able to shut down guys like Kane, like Tays, like Hossa. They weren't able to tonight, or I'm sorry, last night. That's why the Hawks won. But I think Boston's going to regroup, and I think they win in 6.
In 6
games? Yes, I do.
Okay, so you think they win in Game 5, Game 6,
yes,
and
I
take
do.
the series?
And it's been a great series so far. Unlike the NBA Finals, we just talked for 20 minutes about. It's been a bunch of overtime games. Only one has not gone overtime. Been a fantastic series.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boston wins. I could see it going 7.
But Boston's been able to shut down that power play of Tays and Kane and Hossa and Sharp and all. They've been able to shut that down. And last night, Tays finally scores his first goal in like 20 games or whatever. So they end up winning that game. But I think they're going to clamp back down like they did to Pittsburgh, like they did to Toronto. That they're going to, and like they did in New York, shut down the Stars. They're going to win the game.
Right. This has been Sports Talk with Puckett and Pontzer on 88.3 WXOU.